Staff here at school, Tammy Brackville, who saves my butt all the time by just keeping me alert with things that have to get done. Coach Rulin for all the stuff he does kind of behind the scenes too, with getting all the paperwork in, and that's my weakness. That's why I quit teaching a few years ago. And I'd like to thank the Capolas, the ladies in particular, and also the Hayes, for having two great sons here. And those sons have been, again, like Coach Rowland said, some of the best captains I've ever had. They've sacrificed the caring for the younger runners, the way that they're always very accepting, and I really appreciate those guys a tremendous amount. All the parents, again, the pasta party parents, I never wound up hosting one of those when my son was here. We just have a small house and we can't really, Jason ducks when he goes through the doorways right now. But anyway, the PAA and all my seniors. This is the second largest senior class that I'll have graduating since I started 11 years ago. And I hope we don't get quite as devastated as I did my second year of coaching when we graduated 23 senior boys. It took a lot of years to recover from that. And just the quality of the seniors that we have this year, it could have the same effect, except that I think we have some young kids that are coming up and stepping up into some of those leadership roles. So I'm really looking forward to working with all of them over the next 2 years as well. Robert Frost said, 2 roads diverge in a wood, and I took the one less traveled, and it made all the difference. Well, for me, I went over my handlebars on the bike, but a little bit differently with the way that he meant it. And the way that he meant it was going in a path, it's kind of like going to work and going to vacation. Going to work is a very heavily traveled road, and vacation is not. You see one car going this way and everybody else going into Boston. With running, if you take the right path, all right, not the one that everybody else is going through, then it can make all the world of difference in your life. And I think it does that in a lot of these kids' cases. I know it's probably, it is my favorite sport to coach. And I love coaching track. I loved running track. But there's something about cross country because everybody has to go through the same thing. Everybody has to run most of the workout. They all have to run the race. And if one guy finishes the race in 16 minutes and the other kid takes 26 minutes, well, guess who has to be out there 10 minutes longer? All right? So they understand that. Bill Rogers was interviewed one time at the end of a Boston Marathon. He won, I think, 4 of them. And it was about an hour and a half after he'd finished the race. And so they're interviewing him, and all these people are coming across. You know how Boston is. And he looks back and he says, I don't know how somebody can run for that long. So and not the distance, it's the time. So it's amazing what everybody in this team goes through. Season highlights. After 1 week of practice, we had our inter-squad race on September 2nd. Yes, and then I was excited for the year. All the guys were right there. And then there were a couple guys that were surprises to me in a good way. Those surprises just turned out to really make our team gel this year. Then we did the Clipper relays. That's always a fun meet. Then we went against Masco and Manchester Essex, and so now we're 0-2. I don't like being behind like that or having to come from behind. Patriots, I don't know how they do it, but I don't. So then the next week we have Amesbury. Now we're 1-2. And that was a close meet. They're a much improved team. Then we went down to Ocean States, like Coach said. 11 medals from the boys out of those 3 races. And what I loved about it was every 30th place medal, the last one that could be got, our guys were the 30th on that. So that was awesome. And anyway, money well spent, Mr. Thornton, on sending us down there. Then we went against Newburyport, Georgetown. And now we're 2-3. And then the freshman-sophomore race, and that was really exciting. Nick Murphy going against this kid. I don't know where Brendan came from. From Triton. But that was the closest race I've ever witnessed in any kind of a race other than maybe a 100-meter dash or something. They exchanged leads like 3 or 4 times in the last 100 meters. And Nick said, I just knew if I didn't catch him and beat him, I wasn't going to have as nice a weekend as if I did. So that, anyway. And then, of course, Will and Anthony, Accardi, Croto, Costello, all being in the top 40, show a lot of promise for what we have in the future. And there are other kids there as well. We had 9 or 10 freshmen this year. And so that's awesome. That's what we have to have every year to be able to have teams like we have. Hamilton Wyndham lost a tough one there. Now we're 2-4. So then we got Ipswich and Linfield, and everybody pretty much beats up on those guys. So now we're 4-4. I'm really happy, Now we're back to 500, and I knew that we could win the last 2 races against North Reading and against Triton. Bay States was great, being able to go there with just our 12 varsity guys, and got a couple medals out of that. So that's kind of the synopsis of that part of the season. And then we get to the cows. JVs, second place, team-wise overall. Nate Hay in 10th, Will Capola in 14th, Billy O'Neill. I have to say something about Billy on this one. And if you were there and witnessed him with 350 yards to go, he's in second place. And I'm thinking, oh, this is awesome. He's going to have a great time. But he's doing this. And he's got his hand on his side. And I thought, okay, he's got a stomach cramp. I've had that before. It was something else. I think there may have been an alien in him or something. I don't know what it was. But the guy that got second place in that race finished 40 seconds in front of him. He fell back all the way to 1838, and instead of running 17:58, which is where he would have been. It's just phenomenal with how he was even able to get there, because I do massage therapy and stuff, and so I'm there and I'm working on his stomach, and I didn't want him to know, but it didn't feel that great. So Billy, you really pulled a great, I guess, feather. Anyway. All right, and let's see. And then in the varsity race, we had Nick Murphy being all league in 8th place at 16:22, which is the 31st fastest time on that course, and he's a sophomore, which was awesome. Sam Capola, Ethan Bridgewater, Drew Fenton, Josh Wilds, Brett Repke, and Noah Roach all ran varsity that day. And it wasn't our best race. I am so glad. I don't mind if we run a subpar race at the Cape Ann League, if we can run like we did the following week at the Eastern Mass Championships, or the 2 weeks later. Because we got 6th place at the Cape Ann League, and all 5 of those teams plus ourselves, 2 weeks later, qualified to go to the All-States meet. There's not another league in the state that has 6 teams out of their leagues that are going to the All-States. So I hand it to these boys. So most of my focus comes to Eastern Mass, because you always want to focus on the positive. Last year at that race, we started talking about what we wanted to do this year, and I kept it in the forefront of their mind from the first day of practice. During summer, when the captains were out there in the summer, and in the hot temperatures and stuff, and I don't think they were going swimming, but I think they were doing a lot of running, because it showed, especially the way that they were able to peak at the absolute perfect time. Last year we were 6th place, 105 points behind Newburyport and Hamilton Wyndham, 74 points behind Norwell. And this year we were 14 points behind Norwell, so we came up 60 places on them. We were only 26 points behind Newburyport and 58 points behind Hamilton Wyndham. Bedford, who beat us last year by 30 points, we beat them by 130 this year. Seekonk, who was 3rd last year in that race, we were 86 points behind them. This year we were 576 points in front of them. I think they had a bad year. So since 2005, my first boys team to the All-States, and it's the first for Pentucket since 2003, when Coach Moline, that was his last year of coaching after 35 years. And he left behind some really good kids. He could have had another 2-3 years there where he could have gone on. And I hope I don't ever judge it, my retirement, off of that. But this is my last year, guys. Sorry. Oh, no, I'm just joking. I can't help it. These poor kids get a joke a day. And luckily, I have a pretty good joke book. And they normally laugh at all of them, too. And I don't think they really are that funny. But I would like all of the boys and the entire team to stand, because you are a part of that championship team that is going to the All-States. All of you guys. And at that race, Nick Murphy continued to dazzle me, finishing 6th. In that race in 16:54. Sam and Josh they were the glue. And what I loved about their race too, and Sam wasn't feeling all that great, and here comes Josh. I think my son Jason was out there yelling for him too, and he said to Josh, he goes, "Right up there's Sam in the green, go get him." And I don't think Josh realized it. So then he goes up there, and now he goes past Sam. And then Sam goes past him. But as soon as Sam was going past him, I saw him turn and say, "Come on, Josh, let's go." And then that's when they wound up catching a number of people coming down the last hill. Girls, you know what I'm talking about, that ran that race. You got that little downhill. Sometimes you get past, but I don't like to see any green and white people get past. It irks me when I see it, because I know that everybody has a sprint within them. You know, it's the ones that run really, really like over 30 minutes, and then they have this great sprint. You know, you maybe need to equal that out a little bit over the race, but that didn't happen here. We had 5 really solid performances. Ethan has been just a rock all year long, and Drew, fantastic. We finished 4th with 107 points. And there's a quote out there. Normally, when I quote somebody, I give them credit the first time. The second time that I quote them, I say, "Well, as I've heard it said." And then the third time I quote, I say, "As I've always said." And this is one of those. Whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe, it can achieve. And that's what these guys have been able to do for the last year, thinking about that. All right? So I applaud you guys. Now, I'm going to get onto the JV for certificates. This is our future right here. So many young kids here. I go in alphabetical order. It's one of the reasons why I don't teach anymore, because I don't like I like alphabetizing, but I don't like doing it by years and all of that. So what I'm going to do is I'll call your name, and as you're coming up, I'll say a little bit of something about you, and then we'll move on, because I took way too long with my introduction. First up, Anthony Accardi. Anthony is a freshman, and from the very first Masco meet on the same course, congratulations, on the same course as the Cowls, he improved 2 minutes and 19 seconds for a freshman. Next up, same course, Andrew Bacher. And from the first to that last meet, improved 52 seconds. Now, I'm getting a few guys that are coming in also from indoor track, and I love that. And it will make them stronger for indoor track. This guy, Bobby Bigham, 3 minutes and 23 seconds faster on that same course in the Cape Ann League course. Congratulations. He also had 2 minutes and 4 second improvement on pipe stake. So next up, we've got one of my sprinters in track, Ben Bouchard. All right. 2 minutes and 45 seconds at Cape Ann, and 1 minute 34 on our course. Everybody loves John Kane. Yeah, see you girls, I know. And John had another 2 minutes and 19 seconds from the mass vote. All right, another freshman here, Mario Capobianco. 2 minutes and 18 seconds and 2 minutes and 14 seconds were his two improvements over the courses that we run. I think I would add to say, all these guys and how much they improve, you know, there's a most improved award that I like to give. And there's so many people that qualify for that award, but I can only give it to, 15 of you. So anyway, Matthew Cho. And Matthew is hurt at the end of the season. We're still working through some of those injuries, but he's such a great attitude. Love this kid. All right. Nice job. Next up, Jack Posey. All right, here he is. All right. And Jack had just a tiny bit of improvement with 3 minutes and 20 and 3 minutes and 4 seconds over those two courses. This guy didn't improve as much because he worked hard and he came in shape. And but he ran more consistently this year, and that's Kyle Costello. Still improved 55 seconds, but I know Coach was always talking about the people that always have the smiles on their face. Here's one of them right here. And wasn't one of my fastest runners at the beginning of the season, but he beat a lot of guys this year. Nick D'Alessandro. 3 minutes and 16 seconds. Okay. Austin Dwyer. All right, another freshman. Improved 2 minutes and 44 seconds. My save mark kid, Ian Eichel. All right. Big shopping there. Always got the big smile on his face when he checks me out there and gives me my groceries. All right. Ian improved 1:23 at the cows. All right. Then we have Noah Elias Guy. Noah had 1:25 and 1:15 at our two courses that I judged them off of. It's a nice job. Anthony Gianpietro. I love saying that name, Gianpietro. 3 minutes and 30 seconds improvement. I think if this guy had run just a few more races, we could have seen that same consistency. It was his first year running. John Brooks Handy. All right. 30 seconds improvement. All right. Another one where big improvement with over a minute improvement at the Cape Ann League, and that's Joe Johnson. Another freshman. Here's another guy that came in shape, and if you judge it from last year to this year, that's where he had his most improvement. He was much more consistent. That's Alec Croto. Now, if I could just get him to accept that he did a good race, I'd love that, but he's going to be good. All right, next up, another sophomore, Mark Lundy. Mark had 2 minutes and 31 seconds and then 1:24 off the pipe stage for us. So great job. Next up, Peter Noguera. Peter again had improvement, 28 seconds at the Cape Ann League from the Masco. Good job. This next guy, Ben Peterson, when he started smiling in some of these races, I knew he'd gotten it. And he really had some great races, 2 minutes and 7 seconds, and then also a minute 19. Here's another guy that I think he surprised himself. I ran him in a lot of different things indoors last year, and he came out for cross country, Dan Richmond, and he ran 3 minutes and 14 seconds faster on the Cape Ann course. And then our last but not least, Matt White, come on up. 2 minutes and 24 second improvement in a minute 30. All the things that you have to realize, some of these guys, like I said, they didn't improve that much because they were already in pretty decent shape when they came into the season, thanks to these guys here. So, next up, varsity. And if you make it to your 4th year in good standing, then you do get a varsity letter. And so we had some senior guys, and well, I'll tell you, I'm going to miss them. Mainly, their sense of humor is wonderful. They just bring something different to the team every day. First up, I'm definitely going to miss Ethan Bridgewater. All right. Ethan was my mainstay. He was, like I said, he was the rock. Ran 17 minutes, somewhere in there every time. Never really had a bad race. All right. Next, Captain Sam Capola, and wanted to save his strength there if he has race this weekend. And Sam is just, he's so solid, and I'll be talking a little bit more about him. But if everybody worked as hard as this kid, we'd probably be all state champions, that's for sure. And, okay, moving on. Little bro, Will Capola. All right, who doesn't love Will? All right, and Will, again, he came in great shape because he tagged along with Sam all summer long. But he was consistently in that my top guys all year long. Last up, no, not last up. I got a few more to go here. It's his last year. That's why I'm saying this. And I had his brother here to school as well on the team. Really going to miss Justice Del Castillo. I think Justice ran just because he liked being on the team. He didn't like competition, per se, but he loved running workouts. And so that's the kind, you need those kind of people on your team too. All right? I just appreciate Justice so much. This next person, Cam Donovan, is one of our seniors. Cam ran some great races, especially towards the end of the season. Came in, and the first thing he said to me was, I sure wish I'd run a little bit more this summer, Coach. Because he was not in good shape. And then we had our final home meet, and he goes out sprinting. And Josh was right behind him, and he didn't know how far he was in front of the other guys. And he's out there, and then he looks back like this, and he's about 20 yards in front of everybody with 200. But he still ran a good race. So remember that, Cam, that you can go out fast and still survive. All right, next job. All right. 4 years with Drew Fenton, and this year has been ideal. This is one of those guys that surprised me. And my favorite person to do roll call with, Nate. Hey. Oh, he's supposed to say hey. All year long, that's what we did, back and forth. Nate, hey, Nate, hey. Great guy, great runner. Sorely going to miss him. Next up, Mikey Lebrecht. Complete polar opposite of his two brothers that I coached for 4 years. Couldn't get them to talk. Couldn't tell which one was which anyway. But Mikey, I never have a problem. He's always asking me questions. and I love it. He asks good questions, though. And great improvement during the year. I wish he could have finished it out without getting sick, and that's what we always battle as coaches. We want our guys to get there. He got sick. So, next up, Sam Marchand. I know Sam got a little frustrated, kind of felt like he hit a plateau, and then he improved that last race and got his time back down to where he needs to be. And I think he'll start off next year better than he was at the end of this year. I really think he's such a hard-working kid. All right, next, Nick Murphy. All right. I'll talk more about Nick in a few minutes. Great sophomore kid. I had a great sophomore when I first started coaching here 11 years ago that went on to get third place in the all-state meet. So I have high hopes for this kid. Next up, one of my surprises that I talked about when I first started, Billy O'Neill. Billy came over from soccer this year. I don't think Coach Langlois likes me much. Because, again, him and down a little bit further, those guys could have been, starting on the soccer team. And I say that the soccer team has such a good cross-country team there, they just don't know it. Start to a few more kids. Just don't let Christian tell you. All right, next up. Another one of those guys I'm really going to miss. It's been a lot of fun these 4 years. Brett Repke. Brett was another one of our foundation guys. He was just always right there in that top 5, 6 guys all year long. Another one, Noah Roche. I get Noah back, and well, I'll tell you, he's fast. He's got some wheels underneath him, and I really think he's going to be a huge contributor to our team next year. All right, next up, and the guy that was just behind Cam Donovan in that senior race, Josh Schultz. All right, he was here earlier. I took roll. Okay. He must have had a gig or something that I was playing. Another one of those guys hurt most of the season. Just always there, always had a smile on his face. Trevor Snow. And last in the alphabet, I'm sure he's gotten used to this since he was in kindergarten or whatever. Josh Wilds, lettering varsity again. And again, Josh is one of those guys that without him, we wouldn't be going any further. And he ran such a tough race last Saturday and really pushed Sam. And that's what each one of these guys do. They push the guy that's right in front of them, and it filters all the way to the top. Life is 10% of what happens to you and 90% of how you react to it. All right? Remember that when something bad happens to you, how are you going to react? And that's what we've had to deal with a lot of races. When you've had a bad race, do you come back and get a chance, first of all, to prove yourself right? And this one is coming up as our last race. And I talked about it being icing on the cake, all right? And it is, and we're going to have fun with it, but it's a lot more fun to be way up there than way back there, all right? So with that, I have a couple of awards. And I also, before I get to this, I want to make sure that all of the guys that have not picked up their new jackets, I have those over here. If you ordered a pair of pants, I need $30 in my hands before you and it needs to have my name if it's a check because I paid for it, okay? I cannot cash a PRSD, all right? So I just wanted to say that. The first award, and we do not have them yet, but I have one that was a similar copy but from a little while ago. But it's by a group called the Winter Circle Running Club. And When I first moved here in 1990, I joined up with these guys. My wife thought that it was more of a drinking club with a running problem. And so I didn't last very long, especially after my son was born. I felt like there were better places for me to spend my time. But what I have learned about this club is that they love running. They love helping out the high schools all in the River Rivals section. So they give an award every year to us to be able to have an extra one to give out to a deserving young man, or and so it's a tough one for me to hand out because it means it's one of my senior kids that and I've got some guys on this team that I hate to see go, obviously, but also who do I give it to? And this senior runner who receives this demonstrates the great work ethic, the determination, a will to be successful, and he represents running with great dignity. It's also an athlete that I believe will continue to give back to the running community in the years after high school graduation. And he had such an impact on me, especially this year. I would be remiss in saying if I didn't give this to Ethan Bridgewater, I would be sorely the awards are in the mail. Actually, they're going to be here next week. I talked with the coach. All right, next up, most improved. Judged, I've always given the definition, it's judged in two ways. Improvement from when you first started in this to where you are now, or where you were at the beginning of the season to where you are at the end of the season. This guy defines both of them. He was just another freshman on the team, never broke into my top 10 until this year. And then in Newburyport, he was my number 7th man, then 6th, 5th, 4th. Most improved runner for 2015 is Drew Fenton. He's got the hair going. Okay, Coach's Award, and this one could have gone anywhere with this one. And Coach's Award to me defines if you had 39 of these guys in your team, not just ability-wise, attitude, you got to have a sense of humor if you're going to be around me. This kid has a great sense of humor. Everybody likes him. Got a nice little write-up in today's Daily Snooze there, so if you want to check that out, I kiddingly say that. The Coach's Award for 2015 goes to Nick Murphy. There was some climax before that, before I announced that. Now this one becomes somewhat anticlimactic, because if you know the guys in our team, then you know the most outstanding runner. And most of it is about where you finish on this team, but also how you push others to get there. And over the 4 years of working with this young man, I've watched him grow into a very mature individual, somebody I know that will continue on with it. He's way too good to let that gift go to waste. And I know it's something deep down inside of his heart that he wants to do, and he wants to do it in a great way. And so our most outstanding runner for 2015 is Sam Capola. I believe that's it for me. Thanks for your patience. It does take me a look. When you want to say so much about the guys, and I know Coach Rowland with the girls, it's hard to cut it off. And I appreciate you. I hope that your rear ends get better over the next couple of days. Thank you so much, parents. Appreciate it.